so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, this episode of the Positive Head Podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online, and you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Greetings and salutations, positive heads. Welcome to another nerdy episode of the Positive Head Podcast. I'm your nerd host extraordinaire, Brandon. It is a pleasure and an honor on this fabulous Friday to connect with you guys. Here we go. All right. I'll bring back my nerdiness. You know, I just got to find a way to switch up the intro a little bit, even if it means I'm a little nerdier. You guys still love me, right? I think you do. Most of you anyway. Probably the majority of you. I might have lost one fan there, but, you know, can't win them all. Just kidding. You're not allowed to leave. None of you. Nope. Not going to allow it. I am going, however, to read today from Oneness. It's a fabulous Friday, and you guys know I love this book. It's, for those of you who haven't ever caught a chapter from Oneness, it's received and transcribed by Rasha. And Rasha is a woman who I actually talked to a long time ago about being on the show. I should talk to her again. She lives in India, I believe. And anyway, this book came through her, as she claims. I believe it. It's definitely inspiring. I look at it as the guidebook to ascension. And today's chapter 19 actually uses the word ascension. And of course, you can read anywhere from the book. You don't have to read it in order, which is why I love to just pick up. I'll ask the Facebook group, Positive Heads. If you're not on there, you need to get on there. And you guys have chosen the chapters many times. And today I used a random number generator as I meditated. Before I start each show, I do a little brief meditation, chakra opening meditation. And as I was doing that, I sat there and, you know, sort of meditate. Okay, give me the chapter that everyone needs today, including myself. Chapter 19 popped up. The title is The Experience of Interdimensional Ascension. And this is sort of the description of what you'll hear when I read it. Bouncing between realities, shifting the focus of one's awareness amongst simultaneous levels of reality, and the extinction and emergence of new forms of planet, animal, and mineral life. I believe I've referenced this chapter before because from the title, I think this is the one. It's a really fascinating where it talks about new animals and plants emerging as others sort of disappear with some of the earth changes and things that we humans are contributing to. There will be the other end of that spectrum. I believe this is a chapter. Sounds like it, right? From the description. But before I jump into the chapter, I would like to take a moment and read a couple of iTunes reviews. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews. Not only do they help us to reach new people, but they definitely fuel my fire to continue this labor of love. And so, yeah, if you haven't reviewed on iTunes, it is the holy grail of all things podcasting, as I refer to it. So it helps us a lot on many levels. Helps me, helps the world because we reach new people. helps you because you feel good because you gave me a good review. And yeah, just everyone wins, you know? This particular review came in by Hierophant Z, and it's short and sweet. Thank you. Always puts me in a better mood. Thank you, Hierophant Z. You put me in a better mood by taking the time to give me that review. And I'll read one more since that one was short. Lily Spilly said, "We are one." Hello, Brandon and fellow P-heads. I have to say this podcast came to me at exactly the perfect time. I've been on the spiritual path for almost a year, and now I've been led to Positive Head. It's been a synchronistic journey. Your message is always what I need. Thank you so much for being who you are and giving of yourself in this Labor of Love podcast. We are one, and I love all of it. P.S. It's funny. One of my nicknames was P-head. In the right place. Winky face. Thanks. Illy Lagos. Definitely in the right place if your nickname was P-head before you found all the other P-heads, including myself, to connect. It's such a beautiful thing, isn't it? I often talk about it. There's so many things vying for our attention in this this world. It's incredible the amount of information and shows and programming and thoughts and video clips and more and more and more things are coming at you, vying for your attention. And so anyone who is connecting with this show, relatively little show compared to some of the stuff that gets so much attention and energy and focus, it is certainly because you are close relative, I would say, on the soul family tree, if you will. We're all connected. It's all one, as the title of Illy Spilly's review says there. But just with that taken into consideration, is the whole idea that you have branches with leaves that happen to sit next to each other, and we're all hanging out on the same branch, I believe, and I love that, and so happy to connect with all of you, Soul Fam. And with that being said, I'm going to jump right into Oneness, Chapter 19. Never before in the history of your world has there been a time of transformation such as this. These times mark the completion of a cycle whose ramifications are felt throughout creation. What is transpiring in the quote-unquote here and now of your experience is no more or less intense than the shifts being integrated by beings in other dimensions. For all creation is engulfed in the momentum of change, and all are grappling with the repercussions of the integration of accelerated vibration and experiencing the wonders of a new world of perception on an individual basis. In your world, these times mark the end of an era that has been characterized by unprecedented change. In a relatively short period of time, the human race on planet Earth has gone from the level of material subsistence to a level of sophisticated technological advancement that refines and re-refines itself with each waking breath. At the same time, your innate sensitivity and awareness of the reality of the world beyond the material has come to the forefront of the consciousness of humankind, irrespective of differences in culture. There's a spontaneous experience of awakening transpiring throughout the here and now of your world. And for those privileged to be living in populations where awareness of these changes is acknowledged openly, there's much camaraderie and support available. For those in more repressed cultural environments, the experience of energy assimilation is a more personal one. Individuals going through these times under such conditions are experiencing the major shifts in awareness in ways that are profound and empowering, many of them unaware that all are undergoing these experiences. For these ones, the opportunities for transcendence of limitations imposed by their indigenous cultural traditions are unsurpassed. Each has been permitted to collide head-on with his own system of beliefs and has been given a first-hand glimpse into the process of the manifestation of the reality he experiences. Each has been given the tools to draw the identical conclusions despite the rules of the consensus reality of his culture. And each has emerged from exposure to the blatant demonstrations of cause and effect that mark his recent history with a sense of responsibility that is inevitable. The victim consciousness that marks your world is quickly being replaced by the realization that there's a connection between one's mindset and what one manifests as experience. And this shift is universal throughout your reality, regardless of whether the awareness is spurred by cultural openness to such concepts or by spontaneous awakenings on a highly personal level triggered by one's own life experience. There is no question in anyone's mind that unprecedented change is at hand. The question in the minds of so many is why and toward what end this momentum propels you. It is not necessary to understand the process, much less the overview on a grander scale, in order to integrate its effects on a personal level. It is of great interest to many in your particular culture whose awareness has been stimulated to probe the mechanics of the process. But the end result is the same, regardless of whether or not one has awakened to the bigger picture. Spontaneous recall of related incidents in one's life history occurs for everyone and leads to the identification of a common thread that ties the collection of entwined experiences into a cohesive unit. People have the experience of stumbling onto the answers without even having begun to seek them. And for these ones, there is less complication in the process of accepting the unmistakable truths presented than for those whose minds are conditioned by skepticism. One's own experience is far more significant proof of what is so than platitudes of logic that one has learned to parrot and against which one's reality is often measured. The nature of these changes transcends your so-called logic, for it is based on a blueprint of divine intent that is unquestionable. Do not expect the inevitable conclusions you will draw from your experiences to make sense. Often they will not. Not at first, but slowly all of it will emerge as crystalline clarity when you surrender lifetimes of learned conditioning to the unmistakable truth of what you feel. What has been termed inner knowingness is being kindled within the consciousness of every being throughout your world. And as each of you instinctively begins to attune to the higher resonance of that awareness, the answers that were once elusive emerge from within. Suddenly, you know the answers without even having formulated the question, for you will have tapped into profound levels of deeper understandings that were unavailable to your conscious mind at diminished levels of vibration. Once your frequency stabilizes at the higher levels, you will come into conscious awareness of levels of understanding that were not formally learned. Concepts take on a clarity and a breadth of vision that cannot be justified by linear logic. And you become aware that you have emerged as a very different kind of being, for reasons you cannot explain. There is no need to explain anything to anyone, for each is on his own timetable in this process and is not capable of understanding another's reality until his own life experience is able to parallel it. Each will come into awareness of the new levels at precisely the right moment for that awareness to crystallize. Until that moment, many will intellectualize the process and draw partially correct conclusions from incomplete evidence. For these individuals, that will be their process. And some backsliding will be the natural result of the pattern of integration. There is no room for judgment in this process, for each of you is here for your own journey and not for the timing of another's. Resist the temptation to be seduced by your own ego and its need for validation. For the truth you seek lies not upon the path of another, but within your own personal process of emergence. Allow yourself the latitude to experience the process fully, to explore the ripple effect particular revelations may have on illuminating the history you have amassed. All must be assimilated and the corresponding limitations released in order to emerge fully functional as a participant at the next level. The perfection of the timing of your own particular journey will become apparent as the synchronicity that triggers your most significant breakthroughs has the opportunity to play out. Permit yourself the luxury of savoring this experience of transformation. It is not one to be rushed, though many will try. For the end result will manifest in its own time in a very natural way when you allow the process to direct you and you cease trying to direct the process. As the levels of repressed energy are released sequentially and each subsequent layer is stimulated and allowed to be brought to the surface for scrutiny, you will recognize the perfection in the timing of major experiences. Events occur in a particular order, the realizations garnered by the one forming the foundation for the resolution of the next. As the layers of experience are permitted to unfold, the underlying energy pattern is able to be dispelled through recreation of the corresponding emotional catalyst. You are not backsliding in your process simply because you are once again rehashing issues that were presumed to have been resolved. You are in fact progressing perfectly when you allow the process to reveal to you the last remnants of energetic patterning experienced as emotion, and you allow yourself to feel fully the depth of the energetic charge it has been called forth to deliver. Repression of such sensations will only necessitate a repeat occurrence of the same core theme, which must be completed fully before the next layer can be brought to the surface as a life experience. In this way, the major themes of this lifetime, and often the energetic remnants from other lifetimes as well, can be brought to completion. Occurrences of profound intensity are often necessary to represent the true culmination of a life's work on a particular theme. For the density held on a cellular level cannot be carried forth to the levels of reality toward which you are moving. All will have to be brought to completion before the full spectrum of the motion of ascension can be manifested as form. Those who are unable to grapple with the intensity of the episodes that may be created in this process may well opt out of the process entirely and relinquish their physical forms during the time soon to come. These individuals will be presented the opportunity to recreate themselves energetically as the newly defined vibrational levels at which they entered this lifetime. In those new forms, they will be empowered to manifest life experiences that will enable them to continue to work on issues left unresolved in this lifetime. The realm in which such beings will reemerge will be that shared by the consciousness that has succeeded in ascending from diminished realms of reality presently defined by varying degrees of density. There is no one specific place in which certain beings are presently manifested prior to ascending to the level in which you emerged at birth. For the layers of possible realities are infinite and would be personalized to mirror the level of density with which that consciousness experiences self-recognition. Likewise, the levels to which you may choose to ascend will parallel the composition energetically at which you are able to materialize as form. Thus, the reality at which you emerge as materialized consciousness is one that is customized to resonate to your energetic sum totality. For those beings whose life lessons have been brought to fruition, quantum leaps in the caliber of experience possible can be expected. For others who have chosen to give themselves more time to resolve core issues, the levels in which they will reemerge as consciousness will parallel the one in which they find themselves at present. The motion is ongoing. There is no start or stop to the process. There is no particular day of reckoning at which one either moves forward or is held behind. There is no judgment day. There is no success or failure. The process merely is. The motion of ascension is a perpetual motion, and the process has been ongoing since the beginning of creation. In these times, the pace of that motion has accelerated, and physical beings are confronted with the reality that the forms they inhabit are challenged to sustain physicality at the augmented levels to which the environment in which they live has ascended. There is simultaneous presence of every being at countless levels, and it is as natural as the flutter of an eyelid to emerge with consciousness at the next lighter level of density once the work has been achieved. One's awareness of the transition may not be apparent until it becomes blatantly obvious that the rules of the game have been radically altered. Ultimately, one realizes that one is not now present in the same world as one once was. Under these conditions, the changes are far too dramatic and the time frame in question too condensed for the ascension transition to be seamless, as would typically be the case. In fact, for those beings who are actively on the path of life theme resolution, one is technically ascending all the time, and the reality one perceives as the here and now is an ever-shifting personalized reflection of one's vibrational state. The level of resistance one experiences at the various categories of vibration you would consider to be your dimensions would be a mirroring of one's own density resonance in juxtaposition with that reality at large. Thus, one being is simultaneously experiencing the full gamut of possibilities and the full range of ease or difficulty at manifesting their heart's desire or their highest thought for themselves at an infinite number of levels. The focus upon a particular scenario and one's perception of that reality as the here and now is determined by one's ability to deal with the life lessons being presented at a given level of awareness. One is able, then, to tune in sequentially to a range of possible realities and to perceive that collective body of experience as one cohesive unit. In fact, one is technically bouncing between realities all the time, depending upon one's state of beingness in the now moment. When one's awareness as a materialized presence has bridged the gap between major categories of vibration, known as dimensions, the crossing over is more dramatic and the transition more obvious. What could be perceived as backsliding experientially is, in fact, evidence of a major crossing over into realms of experience wherein one is then the greater density relative to the environment at large. Interdimensional ascension is marked by dramatic and poignant experiences of difficulty where seemingly only days or weeks earlier, life was moving forward with an ease that had never before been experienced. This phenomenon in the manifestation of one's efforts flowing smoothly, followed by one's efforts seemingly encountering resistance, is characteristic of ascension having occurred. For those of you who are experiencing a virtual roller coaster of occurrences representing extremes of ease and difficulty, that very state would be indicative of jumping levels of reality in rapid fire succession. These symptoms would indicate an individual who is completing life work on many levels simultaneously and is experiencing ascension at a radically accelerated pace. As one nears the threshold that separates dimensions in the ascension process, chapters are often closed so quickly that one is virtually catapulted from the heights of one dimension to emergence at entry level realities in the next. It is important that one is prepared to cope with the ramifications of that dramatic shift. It is likely, without clarity regarding the nature of the process, that one may misinterpret the signs of such a shift and to conclude that one had somehow failed in one's progress. There is no possibility of failure on this journey. There are merely variations in perception of what is, and it becomes increasingly apparent that you are creating all of it. It is in the highest interest of all of you who stand poised on the brink of the interdimensional shift to come to terms with the power you, in fact, have to create your experience. The extent to which you are able to finally hone those skills will spare you that measure of difficulty once the shift has occurred. 4. At the next major category of reality, manifestation is comparatively instantaneous. Slip in one's application of the principles one has mastered can be painful and costly. It is necessary to become accustomed to the manifested ramifications of one's thoughts and one's speech as experience prior to making the shift into the next dimension. As that threshold is approached, your experience begins to take on the characteristics of the higher dimensions. The time lag between the inception of thought and its manifestation is minimal from the perspective of your awareness at present. Encountering an outcome that would not have been consciously wished for serves to punctuate for you the power you hold in thought, word, and deed. Ideally, you will train yourself carefully to monitor your thoughts and actions so as to avoid creating for yourself unwanted outcomes. And ample opportunity is afforded you at this juncture to fine-tune those skills. Ultimately, as you cross over the threshold that delineates dimensions, your experience of manifestation will become far more poignant. And verbalizing ideas that are not intended at a heart level will have dramatic results, often to the detriment of all concerned. These times and the opportunity for awareness that they offer are provided in order to be fully conscious of your capabilities before having them put to the test of instantaneous manifestation. Your experience will parallel your willingness to surrender to the process and to go in the direction that life is leading you. Those who resist the changes that are programmed into your script energetically will prolong the time it takes to reach completion with the process. At the same time, as each of you approaches the threshold of interdimensional ascension, the planet itself is approaching a similar shift on a multitude of levels. As the vibrational frequency accelerates throughout the energy field of the Earth, the nature of the reality to be experienced simply by standing still and not progressing at all would be marked by radical change. The planet itself is undergoing unprecedented changes in its energetic composition, and the life that is able to be sustained at each of the various levels would be affected accordingly. One becomes aware of species that have become extinct throughout your history. These life forms have not ceased to exist at all, but merely have chosen to remain at the levels of vibrational frequency to which they are naturally suited. As the energy levels in the reality you perceive as your here and now accelerate, many of those life forms are challenged to sustain life at the higher levels and their populations diminish. Ultimately, they are no longer found to be living in realms where once they thrived, for they have reemerged as new life forms in ascending dimensions to which they have descended and with which they are vibrationally compatible. Likewise, one will become aware of new species of plants and animal life that are adapted energetically to the new conditions of your ascending reality. These life forms have migrated from dimensions in which they are no longer able to sustain life into realities that have ascended into their energy spectrum. These new specimens will continue to be discovered in your here and now as the energies of the earth continue to accelerate and stabilize. Minerals that are thought to be new or deriving from outer space are little more than life forms that have chosen to materialize in realities with which they are vibrationally compatible. They are dramatic evidence, not so much of interplanetary travel, which is a physical construct, but of the ability of every life form in existence to seek out and to materialize in a vibrationally appropriate environment. Such mineral discoveries will initially be presumed to be rare because they have not been previously encountered by beings who ascended from vibrationally diminished environments. In fact, these particular categories of mineral life may well be prevalent in the conditions to which the earth and your own conscious awareness have thus far ascended. And many people will be puzzled and astonished that no one seemed to be aware of their existence previously. Such will be the subtle evidences that will emerge as physical confirmation of a phenomenon that defies linear logic. Many will argue with what will become increasingly obvious as the process intensifies, insisting that such theories cannot be scientifically proven. Indeed, they cannot. Not by the methods developed within your lifetime, based on truths that are fast becoming obsolete. The state of your world and the life forms that are now struggling to maintain physicality within it are living proof that radical change is at hand. The mechanics of the process will be understood by relatively few amongst you. Yet many will successfully make the shift, for they would have demonstrated the courage to honor their own instinctive knowingness and resisted the temptation to defer to authorities who remain stalwartly tethered to an out-modeled structure. These so-called authorities will pose a major challenge to the progress many could make, and the test of self-knowledge will be implemented in defiance of much that may now be considered gospel within your scientific and philosophical communities. The opportunity presented under the present and coming conditions of transition is to recognize for oneself what is so, and to honor that truth even in the face of adversity. The spirit of adventure has captured the imaginations of many amongst you who recognize yourselves to be true pioneers on the border of uncharted territory. For you, the need to cling to the familiar has given way to an indisputable sense of being very much on track, despite evidence to the contrary. And as the intensity of the experience builds and culminates in the shift to come, your sure-footedness, based on your own experience, will override the need for external reference points. The time for developing and strengthening that inner balance is now, so that you may stand up and be counted in the here and now to come. All right, chapter 19, that was a good one. Definitely a powerful message, powerful concepts, right? Going back to yourself and trusting as all you're the calm, the eye of the storm, and there will be much swirling around you, ebbs and flows of all kinds, high highs, low lows, everything in between. And what are you going to do? Surrender and trust, faith. It's all happening for you and through you. And yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love you all. That is all for now, but I will be back, as you know. I do have a song to leave you with. This is Super Task. The song is appropriately called Life. Enjoy your new life, because it is indeed new in this moment. Until next time, until your next new life, have a good one. Journey well. Love you all. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear me constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out.